And here's Nick Wright joining us on the show, who's got a really nice outfit today. Boy, what? You've really transformed your being.
Every time you're just talking about my hair and my wardrobe.
Yeah, but you've really...
Every time, man.
You know what? You look like an early Nick Cage.
Okay,
he
thanks,
does.
buddy.
He does.
I appreciate that.
You do. You've got a little starness to you.
Yeah, I'll take that over Adrian Brody, which is what you said last time, which was just a nose joke, just veiled in a compliment. How are you?
I am good. So I'm going to throw something at you.
Yeah.
And this has been my theory for a couple of years, that the really smart teams, I've said this about Andrew Wiggins, I think they should keep him, but if he went somewhere else, he would not be as good.
That's correct.
You can hide people's flaws. Belichick did this forever. Popovich did this inside a great culture. So Anthony Davis, there's always that guy who's late to everything. It's a narcissism thing, that I'm more important than you. He's late for everything. Then he gets punished, and then he starts showing up on time, briefly. But who he is late guy, habitually late guy. Mm-hmm. We know who Anthony Davis is. So this is my theory. Yeah. You get Kyrie because it makes sense. You don't have to give up that much draft pick. Nobody in LA cares about draft picks.
That's correct.
AD, to prove a point, is going to have a great first half. And you move him at the deadline.
This is such an... Go ahead. Finish.
No. Because he will not, off a great year, come back next offseason in great shape. He's habitually late, guy.
Yeah, but what if you win the title?
Oh, boy, they're not a title team.
With Kyrie, with a great Anthony Davis year, a very, very good LeBron year, and no Kyrie, with KCP and Kuzma and Caruso, they won a title. So listen, I understand this is a very anti-Anthony Davis show. Joy is saying, gee, he doesn't get applauded for working out. You have been trying to trade him for months. Years. Here is what I will say about Anthony Davis. Okay, and I think this will contextualize it because the NBA seasons have been at odd times. They've run together. I'm 37 years old, Colin. Yeah. On my 36th birthday, do you know what the lead of the television show was?
No.
Is Anthony Davis Finals MVP. It was less than 2 years ago. He had back-to-back 32 and 34-point finals games right after annihilating Nikola Jokic in the Western Conference Finals, hitting a buzzer beater. Okay. Everyone at that moment was like, oh, yeah, AD versus Jokic, no question. AD versus Giannis. People were like, well, Giannis can't do it in the playoffs. Giannis hadn't won yet. That was less than 2 years ago. So are we maybe, has it maybe swung a little too far anti-Anthony Davis, led by, present company?
I'm Jurassic in terms of age. Uh-huh. On my 56th birthday, you know what the story was?
What?
Garoppolo's in the Super Bowl and out playing Mahomes for 3 quarters. You want to bail on him yesterday?
You're so tied to the partial moments of the Super Bowl. You're like, oh, Mahomes, the Niners almost won. They didn't. And I heard you saying this earlier, the Garoppolo thing. And I know you want to talk to Anthony Davis. If he could complete a deep ball, he'd be a champion. Or if he didn't throw an interception with literally his eyes closed in that game, maybe he'd be a champion. Or have multiple passes batted down with a 2-score lead, maybe he'd be a champion. But that's it. Don't compare Jimmy Garoppolo to #1 overall pick, collegiate champion, NBA champion Anthony Davis. I think he's going to have a very good year.
Okay, let's do this basketball one. Yeah. I think sometimes identifying, even as a host, you identify what you are and what you're not, and then you surround yourself. I've said this before. I surround myself with younger people on my staff. Why? I'm married with a bunch of kids. I can't sit and watch every NBA game. My staff comes in the morning, can fill in the blanks. So when I build my staff, it's based. I can't hire me on the staff. Right? Sure. So I try to build a staff. So I think Dallas smartly realized, and I think this is the truth, Luka will never be a good defender. Stop it. I knew by LeBron's second year, when he figures out the defensive end in the NBA, he's going to be fantastic. Luka's never going to be that. And so Jalen Brunson was never going to be that. Christian Woods is never going to be that. Kyrie Irving is never going to be that. Their job is to find Klay Thompson. Stoic, plus defender, catch-and-shoot guy. That Kyrie is a disaster with Dallas, but he is a perfect fit for LeBron.
Yeah, well, that I totally agree with. Listen, there's one team in the league that it makes sense to give up assets for Kyrie Irving. It is only the Los Angeles Lakers. Because A, you have proof of concept that it works with LeBron. B, you have urgency of right now. You can't really worry about the long term because LeBron's in year 20. And C, LeBron is the only personality big enough in the league to kind of eat up some of the Kyrie Irving nonsense.
Right.
If you're the Dallas Mavericks, as long as you don't screw it up to where Luka wants to leave, in the next 12 years, you're going to win a couple titles minimum. He's that good. So what you can't do is add a total unknown to the equation, the least reliable, least predictable player in basketball, even if stylistically on the offensive end it could work. You can't risk souring Luka on the franchise. It's why they traded Kristaps for 30 cents on the dollar ostensibly and immediately got better because Kristaps didn't like playing with Luka. Luka didn't like playing with Kristaps. It wasn't going to work. As far as pairing him with a great defensive player, the great sports gambler Geraldos Vulgaris, who you're familiar with, who used to work with the Mavs, when he was there and he's talked about this, he said, don't make the Kristaps trade. Save that because I think Drew Holiday is going to come available. And they made the Kristaps trade, and then Drew went to Milwaukee. That's the type of guy that would be the perfect complement to Luka Doncic. Yeah. A great defensive player in the backcourt. Klay Thompson, maybe a little, pre-injury Klay Thompson is another great example of that. They're going to have to figure it out. But as long as Luka wants to be a Mav, they're going to be great. So you can't add Kyrie Irving to that. It would make no sense.
So Kevin Durant, I compare him a lot to Aaron Rodgers. He's fantastic, but he's a lot. And he changes the temperature of your franchise. And so I'll just say me, where I do a really bad job is I often like mobility because it's good for my topics.
Sure.
I like stars moving. It gives me content. Fans don't like it. The Brooklyn Nets had terrible ratings. The Cleveland Cavaliers had great ratings. Milwaukee does. Golden State does. Because fans want to put their arms around players. You can't put your arms around Kevin Durant. He won't allow it. And there's no market for him. And you start looking up, the Phoenix Suns are telling you, we're going to do a sign and trade with the Pacers, is that there is a shot. Brooklyn, there's no market here, or it's very small. That's my take.
Well, I think I don't know that I agree there's no market. I think that the idea of Brooklyn, I heard the same thing. They want 2 All-Stars.
It's insane.
Well, first of all, what teams have 2 All-Stars? Like the idea we want 2 All-Stars. Like, so who are you trading with is the first question. And the second question is, by the time that team trades its 2 All-Stars, would that be a place Kevin Durant wants to be? And the answer is almost assuredly no.
Right.
And so you are trying to thread a very small needle, which is why every time the KD thing comes up, I will bring up New Orleans. New Orleans has a young all-star in Brandon Ingram, who is a poor man's Kevin Durant. They also have a bounty of picks that they can trade.
Yeah.
And if he went there, that team could win. KD plus Zion if he's healthy, plus CJ McCollum as an overqualified third option, that team can compete in the West. But it is going to be an incredibly difficult trade to make. And you and I, listen, I talked about the 10 guys in the league I wouldn't trade for Kevin Durant, and then you, by massive coincidence, a few hours later, did the 9 guys you wouldn't trade for Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't know where you got that idea. But, it is not 34 years old, year 16, or he will be 34 at the beginning of the season. I know that they said Brooklyn wanted Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. I would not trade Anthony Edwards straight up for KD.
Absolutely not.
KD's better than him right now.
Yes.
But Anthony Edwards is 12 years younger. 12 years younger. So you've got to recognize that. And as you guys mentioned earlier smartly, the Gobert trade did blow up the marketplace a bit. It's a bit of like it's Valentine's Day and you walk outside and you're like, God, did the neighbor buy his wife the Mercedes? Whatever I get her is going to look terrible.
Right.
And so I think as we get further removed from the Gobert trade, people are going to realize that was a massive overpay by Minnesota, and I think the marketplace will settle. I don't think KD's starting the season on Brooklyn, though. I know there is seemingly some momentum towards that. I don't believe that.
Okay, Mahomes behind Aaron Rodgers in the NFL executive list. Address it next. I thought it was ridiculous. It's the herd. Okay, the list came out. It looked very similar to mine, although the discredit for Derek Carr is egregious on so many levels. The NFL executives and players and coaches put out a top 10 quarterback list. I had Derek Carr 10. They had Dak 10. I have Dak about 12. I have Lamar 11. Be that as it may, I said yesterday, I've seen the last 16 games from Aaron, playoff games, often at home as a favorite. He's 7-9, completes 63% of his throws, and his passer rating dips. He's not the same player when uncomfortable. Yeah. He's not the same quarterback when trailing. I would take Mahomes, Allen, Brady, Burrow, Stafford all ahead of him. with 2 minutes to go, trailing in a game. Your thoughts about Mahomes, despite the last 3 years, being below Aaron?
But it's not, well, obviously Mahomes shouldn't be below Aaron, but everyone that you mentioned should also be ahead of him. And I would listen, I can't prove it with Justin Herbert because he hasn't played in a playoff game yet, and the knock on Aaron is lack of playoff success. So I can't prove it with Herbert, but I'd rather have Herbert too, as well. I would have those 6 guys because to me, I'm going to build a bridge here. Did you see, I don't know if it's the WAC, some small West Coast conference, I think it's the WAC, is considering changing their conference tournament seeding, not based on record, but based on like KenPom rankings, which is we are now in like a post-win losses world. This is, by the way, the canary in the coal mine for this was Nikola Jokic winning these MVPs. Right. It was like, oh, they're winning, sports and winning. Who cares about that? Here's what my algorithm tells me is the best.
Yeah.
And there is an element of that to arguing that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football. Because I watched in 2020 him be far and away the best quarterback in the league. And then I watched Tom Brady play him in the playoffs, and Aaron spit the bit right before halftime, and then screw up the final meaningful drive of the game. Like, okay, it's one game, one sample. I'm not going to kill him. Then I watched in 2021, Aaron be far and away the best quarterback in football, and then in his first playoff game, perfect drive down the field for a touchdown, tiny bit of adversity after a ball is dropped, and you score 3 points the rest of the way.
Yep.
And by the way, this is where you do get a victory lap because you were an early adopter of this and I didn't believe you. But now the body of evidence is great enough that if you are saying the goal is to win a championship, how can you argue Aaron's your first pick? How can you do it? It's baffling to me.
Well, his wow moments are so spectacular. There's a Westbrook quality that there are times you're like, John Morant's going to have this. Whoa!
Yeah, but here's the thing, Colin. His wow moments are not more wow than Mahomes or Allen.
True.
They are not.
Good point.
And they've got them both above, Rodgers above everybody. Now, he's always had more wow moments than Brady, fair enough, but Brady just has all the jewelry and all the winning and then was able to do it in the conference. I've got a Brady stat for you, by the way.
All right.
I know this is, I think Florio found it. I don't know. I read it. I didn't research this myself. If Brady gets to the Super Bowl this year, he will have the record for most wins in the playoffs against NFC teams. So think about that for a moment. He's been in the NFC for 2 years. But because he came there with 6 victories because of the Super Bowls, and now he already has 4, the record is 12 by Montana for victories in the playoffs against NFC teams. Brady could have it if he went. Is that not the most bananas thing you've ever heard? I just don't know. The Rodgers thing is a little frustrating. It is a little frustrating at this point. People are like, yeah, he's still the best. It's like, I think he's awesome. I think he's great. I don't think you can argue he's the best quarterback in football after what we've seen.
I don't see him as that. By the way, Baker Mayfield said this. We only have a minute left. Yeah. He said, asked if he was kind of a person who held grudges. I thought this was a perfect answer. Mayfield grinned and said, I try not to hold grudges. And I thought to myself, Tom Brady named a production company after a grudge, 199. I have one grudge. I will win. It is inevitable, and I'm not going to announce it, but I have one grudge in my life.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm going to win
it.
You
haven't won yet?
Oh, no. I'm going to win it, and I'm already putting in all the pieces. Are you a grudge holder?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, grudges are healthy and good, I think.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, Brady.
Yeah, no. I like grudges, but I just ask a question real quick? Yeah, if you're not going to share yours, I'm not going to share mine. Because one of the reasons, you and I haven't talked recently, but it's because I wasn't sure how you were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of need to space because Baker's going to take Sam Darnold's last job as a starter. Joy, has he been okay? Is he dealing with it well?
I think he is. I think he is submitted on the Sam Darnold take.
Well, yeah, but it's one thing to submit. It's another thing to have Baker Mayfield be the one that ends his starting career.
It's very difficult time for me.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine. We can talk it over dinner. How many gin and tonics do I have to buy you for you to tell me who the grudge is?
I don't like tonic or gin.
Okay,
so
sorry.
My
it's vodka.
My vodka waters. How many?
Vodka waters. I'm not an alcoholic.
Vodka soda.
Who drinks vodka waters?
Okay, well, I don't know, Colin. All right, it's your show.
My takeaway is I was right on Baker and wrong on Darnold. I think it's a hard job to win because I don't think Baker, if Mahomes walks in, you're like, all right, that does it. I think Baker and Sam will kind of share a lot of average.
Yeah, but wrong forever on Darnold and maybe only temporarily right on Baker. Baker Renaissance coming. Oh, you're going to love it.
I mean, at this point, you're being obnoxious.
Yep, absolutely.
All
I'll see
right,
you later.
it's Nick Wright. We're going to go to dinner.
Buy you some Cosmos.
You go to, terrific. Third. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.